Hi there, this is Llyn Hunter, and today I'm going to basically do a little lecture over my painting of a tiger shark. I thought I'd do something new today. What we're going to be talking about today is becoming a professional artist. I've been working as a professional artist technically since I was about 12 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a mother who was a craftswoman who did silversmithing. And she also made jewelry with seashells that we collected in Puerto Manasco, Mexico. And I helped her create necklaces and jewelry with these seashells. And when I made necklaces and sold them, I'd get money for them. So technically, since I was about 12 years old, I've been doing that. But on top of that, I became a professional artist. Oh, geez. In high school, I did some work that I got paid for illustrations, and then early in college, and one of my first major jobs was as a graphic artist for the Associated Students for Arizona State University. And I got that job by volunteering. One of the things that I have found when it comes to any job that you want to get into where you find it's difficult to get the job, I highly recommend volunteering. It's really a good way to start off your profession. Um, however, we're running into a big problem in this day and age. Now, I said I've been a professional artist since I was 12, but I'm now 65 and I'm not stopping being a professional artist. I go to small conventions and sell prints of my work. I still am doing illustration for the gaming industry. I still am doing commission work and do my big push now that I really want to do more of is illustrations of people's Dungeons and Dragons characters and have actual portraits of their characters that I have hand painted. I've done this for several people. I love doing it, and I'm going to start putting together on my website that is more going in that direction. And today I wanted to just talk about some of the problems that we all have with trying to get going as a professional artist. Because as being a storyboard artist for 33 years, I aged out of that profession. And I've talked about that in my last um, discussion about animation art. It's a strange quirk of our industry that as you get older, you're not desirable. Even though you have more experience, you are technically not desirable. So I'm on the same level as a lot of you getting into the industry. And these are some of the things that I think that you need or I've needed in order for me to make basically a living as a professional artist. And just being an artist who makes money off their work. And I'd like to talk about basically what I consider a professional is just somebody who gets paid to do art. And you don't have to make a living at that art to consider yourself a professional. We all put a barrier on what we consider professional. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are artists of professional quality who never may get paid for what they do. But you if you put the time, energy, and desire and passion into your work, as far as I'm concerned, you're a professional too. Um, so I've got a few things that I'd like to talk about. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly just because I'd like to keep this down to below an hour. Um, the first one is the biggest problem we all have right now is the gigantic number of people who are competing for jobs. And I mean from the smallest job to the biggest job. And that's basically, if you're talking, we have 8 billion people out there, and maybe a tenth of a percent are professional quality artists. That means basically 80 million people worldwide are the quality to be professional artists. And it's not that you are competing against them per se, but we're all competing for the few dollars that everybody has for art. And art is something that nobody actually, we don't need it except as artists ourselves. We really need to create it. Um, but because it is, it's a luxury good. No matter what, if you're purchasing art for any reason, whether it's music or dance or going to the theater or um, illustration work, it's still a luxury good. And so that's a big question mark, and trying to find somebody who's going to pay you for the thing that you've worked your brains out for, even though it's maybe the most amazing piece of artwork out there. What makes it something that somebody is going to lay down their hard work for money for your particular piece of art? Um, the things, these are some of the things that I feel that you actually need to be a professional artist if you're going to actually consider making it your profession to put the roof over your head, or trying to make it as a successful side gig. The number one thing I've put down here is belief in yourself. Um, it's the one thing that's really important. Most artists, if you're anything like me, you have that mixture of you think you're the best thing that ever existed, plus you think you're the worst thing you ever existed, and you always have to get over that. Um, uh, Second thing, little financial obligation. It doesn't matter if you have a little or a lot. A lot of money's always better. But if the roof over your head and the food in your stomach are taken care of, all you have to be concerned with is your art itself. And oddly enough, that can be a very big thing. If you have a partner, if you have a parent, if you have a patron who's willing to make sure that that roof is over your head and the food's in your stomach, you've got it made. Um, Most of my life, I've been more or less the breadwinner of the house. I've had to make sure that the roof's over my head and everything's paid for. And that can be tough when, with most art jobs, they are not consistent. Something like teaching is a really nice art job. If you can get a job teaching art and then sell your work on the side, that's a really good way to make sure that you're spreading your information to somebody else and still bringing in the cash. Um, I basically was in animation. I was a storyboard artist. It was really nice to be part of a cooperative effort to create things for kids to entertain them for 33 years. But during that 33 years, I was still doing illustration work. I was still getting paid on the side. I was still um, having times when there was no work. I have gone as much as 2 years at a time while I was a full-time animator or a full-time storyboard artist, where there was nothing, and all I did was keep hunting for jobs. And basically, my job was hunting for jobs. Um, you have to enjoy. Third thing is you have to enjoy a lot of alone time. Um, Both if you're in visual or literary art, um, if you're a writer, they're solitary professions, and you're going to need to expect to spend 8 hours of every day just focusing on your art. When I was doing storyboarding, I don't care what anybody says. I got into it, so I would have an 8 hour day. If I worked for a studio and I'm working in a union shop, hey, I only have to work 8 hours. No, just about every show that I worked on, there would be days when you would sometimes put in a 24-hour day when there was a deadline that you really needed to meet. You wouldn't, and sometimes you wouldn't ask for overtime, and I could get into that another time, but you have to be spending a lot of time by yourself, and you have to put in the hours where a partner is going to be without you. You're going to be without going to do gaming with friends. I've often said to my gaming friends, the reason why I have never gotten into Dungeons and Dragons is because I'd get lost in that game because it is such a wonderful, wonderful way of creativity, but I wouldn't get any art done. And I'd rather do artwork for things like Dungeons and Dragons, things for fantasy art than actually doing it myself. And you've got to decide a lot of times which is more important to you, because if you're going to be, especially a full-time professional in art, you the number of people who get paid really well for it are very few and far between. And when you do really get paid well for it, you might get paid well for it, especially like as an example, in entertainment or animation. You'll get paid really well for maybe 6 months to, if you're lucky, 2 years on a project. And then when that project goes, you're without funds and you've got to look for another job. So you definitely have to put in a lot of time if you're going to be a professional artist by yourself. If you're a loner, I mean, most artists, most really good artists, we do have a tendency to be a bit of loners, just because it's when you're doing a lot of work, that's just the way it happens. Number four, good business skills. If you're going into, even in high school, they used to have, I don't know if they still have them now, I should look into it, but they have classes in small business. Learning how to run a small business is really, really important. And there's small business groups in your neighborhood that you can take classes from. The Better Business Bureau offers classes in small business. Think about taking some. There are a lot of really good YouTube videos on running a small business. Watch them. If you're going to be any kind of professional, you got to know how to write off expenses, how to pay yourself, how to do bookkeeping, how to promote yourself. My biggest problem, it's like I can promote myself. I really hate taking that extra time you have to do for the sales and promotion. And you know that most of the people on the internet who really do well do really great promotion. And that's something I myself, it's like the things that I need to learn, that I realize if I'm telling you guys this, you've got to learn it, I've got to learn it too. Um, and that goes into the next thing when I'm talking about studying. The last thing I want to say, keep studying, keep learning, watch YouTube videos. I've been doing a lot of YouTube watching as of late. Um, I have a library that is extensive. I copy my favorite artists. I try to figure out how they do what they do. I buy books on how to, both for um, traditional work and for digital work. And I read stuff, I watch YouTube videos. Um, keep learning. Keep a sketchbook. I am a big one for keeping a sketchbook. If you look at my channel, I have my writer's block. I'm going to be putting up more videos on my sketchbooks. I do lots of sketching. I do lots of figure drawing. Not as much as I'd really like to, too. I keep on working on the things that I know that'll better myself. I've been working as a professional, like I said, since I was about 12 years old. That's over 50 years. I've been doing something as a professional artist, and I still need to develop my skills. There's things that I feel that I'm just not strong enough on and that I'm going to be working on. And I really think that those things are really important to develop. And that's basically it for now. Those 6 things are the things that I personally feel are the most important when it comes to being a professional artist. It's kind of like I've got to take advice from myself as well. And the one thing that I didn't bring up, there should be a number 7, luck. Um, you can work as hard as you want. You can be the best artist in the world. You can put yourself out there in all the right places, but luck does play into it. And I think in one of the next videos, I will talk about how I got into the animation profession. And it was a combination of putting myself in a space where I could be seen and also luck. Um, it's like you can't do anything about luck. So it's like if for some reason you don't feel, it's like, okay, I've done everything I can and I'm still not there, always make the art the most important thing. It's not the money. You need a roof over your head, and I understand that, but it's always about the art and making yourself happy with your art. That's got to be the number one thing. And that's about it for my little lecture today. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for listening to my, geez, this is what we need to do to be a professional, because I'm having to reinvent myself right now as well. I've retired from animation. I want to get my artwork out in the world, and I have to figure out this puzzle just like you do. But if you have the 6 things that I've suggested and a little luck, you can make your living as a professional artist. It's just not the easiest profession in the world to get into. And one other thing that you've got to know is that there are lots of ups and downs. And the one thing that I didn't say too, have a side gig. Always have some kind of other profession that you can fall into if everything you do to become a professional artist doesn't work out. Okay? Thanks again. Llyn Hunter, please come back next time. Like, subscribe, and possibly join my Patreon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.